He got out of his car when I stepped out of the truck and came to meet me. He reached to take my book bag from me. That was normal. But he shoved it back onto the seat. That was not normal. Come for a walk with me, he suggested in an unemotional voice, taking my hand. I didn't answer. I couldn't think of a way to protest, but I instantly knew that I wanted to. I didn't like this. This is bad, this is very bad, the voice in my head repeated again and again. But he didn't wait for an answer. He pulled me along toward the east side of the yard, where the forest encroached. I followed unwillingly, trying to think through the panic. It was what I wanted, I reminded myself. The chance to talk it all through. So why was the panic choking me? We'd gone only a few steps into the trees when he stopped. We were barely on the trail. I could still see the house, some walk. Edvard leaned against the tree and stared at me, his expression unreadable. Okay, let's talk, I said. It sounded braver than it felt. He took a deep breath. Bewla, we're leaving. I took a deep breath too. This was an unacceptable option. I thought I was prepared, but I still had to ask. Why now? Another year? Bewla, it's time. How much longer could we stay in Forks after all? Carlisle can barely pass for 30, and he's claiming 33 now. We'd have to start over soon regardless. His answer confused me. I thought the point of leaving was to let his family live in peace. Why did we have to leave if they were going? I stared at him, trying to understand what he meant. He stared back coldly. With a roll of nausea, I realized I'd misunderstood. When you say we, I whispered, I mean my family and myself. Each word separate and distinct. I shook my head back and forth mechanically, trying to clear it. He waited without any sign of impatience. It took a few minutes before I could speak. Okay, I said, I'll come with you. You can't, Bewla. Where we're going, it's not the right place for you. Where you are is the right place for me. I'm no good for you, Bewla. Don't be ridiculous. I wanted to sound angry, but it just sounded like I was begging. You're the very best part of my life. My world is not for you, he said grimly. What happened with Jasper, that was nothing, Edvard, nothing. You're right, he agreed. It was exactly what was to be expected. You promised. In Phoenix, you promised that you would stay. As long as that was best for you, he interrupted to correct me. No, this is about my soul, isn't it? I shouted, furious, the words exploding out of me. Somehow it still sounded like a plea. Carlisle told me about that, and I don't care, Edvard. I don't care. You can have my soul. I don't want it without you. It's yours already. He took a deep breath and stared unseeingly at the ground for a long moment. His mouth twisted the tiniest bit. When he finally looked up, his eyes were different, harder, like the liquid gold had frozen solid. Bewla, I don't want you to come with me. He spoke the words slowly and precisely, his cold eyes on my face, watching as I absorbed what he was really saying. There was a pause. I repeated the words in my head a few times, sifting through them for their real intent. You don't want me? I tried out the words, confused by the way they sounded, placed in that order. No. I stared, uncomprehending, into his eyes. He stared back without apology. His eyes were like topaz, hard and clear and very deep. I felt like I could see into them for miles and miles, yet nowhere in their bottomless depths could I see contradiction to the word he'd spoken. Well, that changes things. I was surprised by how calm and reasonable my voice sounded. It must be because I was so numb. I couldn't realize what he was telling me. It still didn't make any sense. He looked away into the trees as he spoke again. Of course I'll always love you. In a way. But what happened the other night made me realize that it's time for a change. Because I'm tired of pretending to be something I'm not, Bewla. I am not human. He looked back, and the icy planes of his perfect face were not human. I've let this go on much too long, and I'm sorry for that. Don't. My voice was just a whisper now. Awareness was beginning to seep through me, trickling like acid through my veins. Don't do this. He just stared at me, and I could see from his eyes that my words were far too late.